Welcome, everybody. I'm here today to talk with a special guest, the owner of a light novel publishing company called Tentai Books. It's a relatively new publisher located in Spain that appeared almost out of nowhere in 2020 to bring both English and Spanish releases of Japanese light novels. They already have 5 titles licensed and released, with 3 recently announced titles coming soon. We'll talk about some of those titles specifically later, but first, let's get started with a little bit of background. Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start Tentai Books?
Sure. Let me see. This was a year and 6 months ago or something around those lines. Let me see. Yeah, I guess, it was around 2 years from now. I worked as a translator for Japanese games for a couple of years, specifically visual novels for a couple of companies. And I decided that, back then, since I only knew visual novels better than light novels, I decided that I wanted to do a visual novel related company. The issue with that is that the Nekonian, which is another company, already came out, and many others, and the market was oversaturated. So even though I tried to find an opening with Japanese games, I never really had the chance to publish anything or be given any chances to publish anything from a Japanese side. So I was about to give up on the idea until I then decided, how about we do not games, but light novels instead? Because I did work fan translations of light novels back then, and I will admit that I never worked professionally as a translator on light novels before this company. But honestly, they weren't, it's just the same as visual novels. It's just different formats of how the text is viewed, but literally pretty similar. And yeah, I had better luck with that, and that's how I started the company.
What was actually your path to becoming a translator, and how exactly did you learn Japanese?
Oh god, that's a long story. Okay, I'll try to make it short because this is a span of 7 years. 8 years ago, I think. I was like a 16-year-old kid or something like that, and I saw one of these animes. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Seitokai no Ichizon, and one of the characters was playing a visual novel, an erogi or whatever. I really liked that because back then I was that classic social awkward kid who had little friends and barely any female interaction at all. So I searched for the term visual novel on the internet, and I found a forum called Fua Novel. Back then was pretty active, but now I think it's dead. And that's how I found visual novels in general. And I was obsessed with wanting to do projects on my own to translate the games that had the cutest anime girls, because I didn't really care about the story. I started as an editor in some groups, and then that went horribly wrong for many reasons, but mainly because I was 16 years old and I was stupid.
Right, yeah.
It scaled a little bit up. I just realized that unless I knew Japanese, I wouldn't be able to do what I really wanted to do. And I just went to classes, and I did many attempts on many games as a fan translator. And none of them really panned out until my last one, which was my last attempt was 2 years ago, before the company, right before the company. I finished my last attempt and ended it like that. But yeah, I spent collectively almost more than 10,000 hours on translation practice, and it was crazy. But yeah, I managed to finish my projects, and we reached the actual point right now, basically. Obviously I got hired. Before I made Tentai Books, I joined a couple of visual novel companies, and then after that, I just went my own way. That's the short story of how I became a translator, pretty much.
And how were you self-taught Japanese, or did you take classes for it?
I self-learned for 2 years, and the rest was with a teacher.
Okay.
He was a very good teacher that he knew exactly what I wanted, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, if someone is interested in his classes, just solamikyoshitsu.com. There you go. I owe it to him. He's a great guy.
All right. I wanted to ask, how difficult was it to actually become a light novel publisher? I'd imagine some of the big problems include 1, communication, and then 2, earning the trust of the Japanese publishers.
It's just experience talking with these people. It wasn't my first time dealing with Japanese people. Okay. I sold a couple of fan translations before where I've had to talk with them. And after a while, you really get used to how to deal with Japanese people. To be honest, they never really respect you fully, which is the thing that you have to keep in mind. Like, they will never do it. And then when you make a company, you always have to take into account that in our case, the people we compete against in the market are giants, are like mega corporations at this point.
Right.
So it's just very hard. It's just very hard, yeah, and it's getting harder as it goes. Like, I don't know for the new ones that will come in. I know there will be more publishers that will appear in the future, but it'll be increasingly harder for them to join into the fray and get any licenses because things are getting like companies are being bought by other Japanese companies now, and it's very, very hard to get a hold of it, of anything. But yeah, it was hard. I think I took 6 months before they actually trusted us with a novel. So yeah, 6 months of negotiations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how big was your team when you first started out compared to how it is now? Because I know you guys are still a relatively small team, but how much have you guys grown since you've initially started?
We were just like, let me see, it was me, Pomelo, Adam, and BS. So we were 4 people working on the novels. Yeah, plus our website person. And now we are 15. We're 15 people. We're 15 people.
Wow, all right.
We're like, well, let me see, like 3 or 4 translators for sure. We're 4 translators, and then there's one typesetter, one image editor, a couple of editors, a couple of QAs, and the website guy. And I'm probably missing people, but
Right, yeah.
but yeah.
I think I had seen when you first started out, you were pretty much the only translator that you had, but now you have like, what, 4 or something you said?
Yeah.
What
we
was
do.
How much were you actually handling yourself when things were first starting out? Were you handling like a lot of different things yourself?
Yeah, pretty much everything. Translation, book production, publishing, distribution, etc. It's just I still do most of the stuff, so it's kind of a nightmare. But it's what you gotta do when your money supply is limited.
Right. Yep. Fully understand that. Yeah. Okay. Here's one. I don't know if you would have an answer for this offhand. You might have to think about it. I don't know. But when people think about light novel publishers, they usually think the big ones are like Yen Press, Seven Seas, J Novel Club. What do you think makes Tentai Books stand out from those publishers?
Our physicals are just better than theirs. Period. That's it. That's what people tell us all the time, at the very least.
Yeah, I think I have seen some of how your physicals look from like some Twitter posts online. They look really nice. I ordered a couple copies myself last month that I think are still on their way to get here. The How to Melt an Ice Queen's Heart, I think is the title. And then the other one was the side character, which was your flagship title. I'm waiting for those to get here. But those looked pretty nice from the physicals. And I think I'd also heard you were trying to, what is it? They have like glossy covers, but also like a dust jacket or something like that.
Oh, we have dust jackets with all of our books, and then we have extras for all of our books so far. So the bookmarks and the postcards in the case of Ice Queen.
I'm super excited to see how those feel and look when I get those. But yeah, from what I've been seeing, they look like really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say our genres are different from the others, but not really. The others are already doing rom-coms now, so it'll be a matter of time because before we do stuff everyone else does. So yeah, I'll say our physicals are what differentiate the most out of the others for the time being. Hopefully things change.
Right. On the topic of genres, so most of the titles you've been licensing have been mostly focused on rom-coms, which I personally really enjoy that about your publishing company so far. You've said in the past, I believe in other interviews, that you thought the isekai genre was oversaturated currently, and so that's why you pretty much focus so far on rom-com titles. But currently you now have a new title, or somewhat new title, World Teacher, which I think is supposed to be about a secret agent and reborn in a fantasy world and teaching the people in this world. I'm wondering, how did World Teacher release compared to your rom-com titles? Like, did it sell better than you expected, or was it about the same?
Different. Our rom-coms sell better physically, by far, while clearly World Teacher and the fantasy titles sell better digitally. Like, the difference is pretty huge.
Okay.
Although I think they fared about the same. It's just that one did better digitally and the others did better physically, by far.
Okay, let's get into some of my licensing process questions here. Again, you don't have to go into any specifics if you can't, but I'm curious as to how the licensing process in general works for light novels to start with.
First, I need to choose a company that we can license from, which is probably the hardest part. A company and a novel that I think we could license first. Our choices are very limited, so we cannot choose any Kadokawa, any Shueisha titles because that's impossible.
Right.
And yeah, once I have something pinned, an idea, I contact the company through my representatives or intermediaries, and then we talk about the possibility of doing the title. Either they tell us yes or no after a month or two, for example, of talking with them. And if they say yes, then we strike a deal and we plan a release. And if no, then we look for other titles. That's pretty much how it is.
Right. So are you able to tell us any of the details on what a light novel deal looks like? No numbers or anything, of course, but are they usually like royalty based, a flat fee, or like a mixture of both?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but I mean, there's royalties involved and there's a flat payment involved per volume, basically.
So you pay like a flat fee up front, and then there's also royalties based on the sales?
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much.
There's like no difference in how that works between like physical and digital?
No, it's the same thing. Okay. It is the same logic. Although the numbers are different, obviously, but...
You publish both English and Spanish releases, but I'm wondering if the licensing is based on the region itself or the language. Like, are you able to sell English releases to Spain and Spanish releases to the US, or is it like, are they limited?
No, most of the times Spanish releases are released or in the US, in South America, and in Spain. Although I must say that I'm most likely discontinuing that language. So yeah, I mean it's not doing very well. But yes, my intention is always to cover as much territory as we can, because we do have the ability to distribute our books through our store worldwide, even though they take quite a while to arrive, but they arrive in the end. They always arrive.
And I was actually also going to ask about how your Spanish sales were doing, because I remembered in a past interview you had talked about how there was the market there was pretty niche, or that there was only a big name titles that were being sold there already. So I was actually going to, ask, how exactly has the Spanish market for light novels been going? It sounds like you were saying before it's not very good.
Nah, not good. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, there's been silence from my end because of it. And I think people should take a hint of what I mean when I don't talk about it or when I don't make announcements in that language. It's because I'm losing money with that language, pretty straight up.
Right.
Like, it's not worth at all. I think, obviously, if I release titles like Data Live or Classroom of the Elite, maybe I would get money. But obviously, we're not at that point, and we would need... It's just that I would need such an amount of money to investment and time and patience that I don't think it's worth. And I don't have that money either. It's like, I would rather leave that to publishers that have more money than I do. Unfortunately, It's just the harsh reality.
Yeah, it sounds like you would really need to have the money to license big names that would be instantly recognizable, mostly because they're like popular animes or something like that tied with them or something, I'd imagine. With that in mind, are you ever considering in the future maybe moving the office to the US if most of your sales are going to be towards this kind of audience?
We have an office in the US.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just that it's not publicly announced or anything because we use it mainly for negotiations, but yes. We do have places in the US. It's just that we don't actively use it. Yes, I would like to move to the US eventually, but I would need to make a lot of changes in my life for that. And so far, no, I can't. But yes, the idea is to move either to the US or to Ireland, actually, one of the two. Run the company from there.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. I'm actually also wondering, how has COVID been affecting your sales? Because I believe you've been operating ever since COVID has really had an impact on the world too. But there was also a big, COVID, I believe, has also been impacting a lot of manga and I think light novel sales to the fact where there's like a lot more manga being sold to the point where there's like a lot of shortages because there's so much people are requesting and I guess not enough printers are able to print them or something like that. So I'm wondering if you're having any issues like that related with your light novel sales.
No, I think those news are more applied to big corporations than smaller companies like ours. Plus, I really don't know what was pre-COVID because I started this company on May 2020.
So that's like right
May 2020
when it hit,
yeah, exactly. So I really don't know. I have no clue. Although my assumption is that the sales would have been more or less the same. Like again, those things about printers running out of paper and stuff. I think that's more of a big corporation issue, like the Empress issue, J-Novel issue, not our issue. We're very small.
Right.
So it's not something that really affects, at the very least, my company is not really affected by it. There are paper shortages here, but not to the scale of the United States for sure. And even if they were, even though like Empress probably makes 15,000, 20,000 books per run. I don't even make 1/10 of that. So,
Okay.
Again, it doesn't apply to us. I think it only applies to big companies.
So when you came up with the idea for launching Tentai Books and the titles you initially licensed at the beginning, did your expectations for how much you would sell go about what you expected, or did it exceed that? How well did you go at the beginning, and how well are you doing now?
They went opposite of what I was expecting. I was expecting Diner to do 10 times better than Side Character, because Side Character was a novel that a friend recommended to me. I didn't even want it at the beginning. I was like, why would I want this when I can get the Isekai number 5, whatever? And then my friend told me, bro, everyone does Isekai, just do this.
Yes,
and he showed me the Side Character. It was cute. The issue is that it only had 1 volume, but I was like, okay, sure, I'll pick it up. And it worked fine. So as of how we're doing now, I think we're fine. Yeah, I mean, if we're getting more licenses and more stuff, I think it should be an indicator of how well it's going. Although it'll be much more better next year for sure, because we will have the expanded distribution finally after a year of working on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's I don't know, I did print runs of 1,000 books and more, and maybe I'm gonna triple or quintuple that now thanks to it. So with some luck, it'll be a saving grace.
What would you say is your goal for Tentai Books at this point?
Now, that's very hard. If I'm being really honest, I would have a company bias, like a big corporation bias, just like J-Novel was bought by Kadokawa, or more or less the same. I would like that to happen.
Yeah, because you seem to be doing really well. Because seemingly your company just kind of came out of nowhere to a lot of people. Just last year, right? So it's just the beginning of last year you showed up, and you've already got some titles coming out, and those seem to be doing pretty well. I'm not sure. Do you actually do you expect some of the titles you might have licensed could receive an anime adaptation or something in the future?
If anything, the sister one, but
the sister one, yeah.
The World Teacher one, no, because if World Teacher should have had an anime ages ago, if it doesn't have it now, it will never have one. Yeah, I'm not looking for anime hitters anyways. That's not my intention. But yeah, if anything, World Teacher and the sister one, because the others, I mean, they're okay, but they're niche. Within Japan, I don't believe they would succeed as animes.
All right, let's talk about your latest rom-com release, actually, Turning the Tables on the Seatmate Killer. Can you tell us a little bit about the plot of that?
Okay, well, it's weird, but basically it's this girl. The protagonist is very stoic, and he sits next to the girl who rejects all the guys in the class / school, and then the protagonist, she tries to hit on the protagonist with her usual charm, and seeing that he doesn't react to her flirting, she gets really mad, and then she wants to, get him to confess to her. But in this process, she falls in love with him.
Naturally.
Thus, he turns the tables on her. And her nickname in school is the Seatmate Killer, because whoever sits next to her confesses their love, and then she rejects them. That's how it works. It's a rom-com title. I think it focuses more on the comedic part for sure. And it has a lot of jokes, basically. I didn't work on it myself. I only worked on certain parts with the jokes to help the translator. And it came out pretty good. I think it was funny. Although I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, I think it's because the manga has always been more popular than the novel. But we know that eventually it'll kick off. It just needs time for people to get to know it.
I actually bought and read that whole first volume yesterday. I couldn't put it down once I got started with it. I could talk a little bit about what I enjoyed about it. It reminded me a lot of Kaguya-sama Love is War, with that whole, the love mind game kind of thing. And I think at one point she even kind of resolves herself to saying, the same kind of plot structure where it's I need him to confess to me first, even though I am in love with him, because power dynamics with a relationship will be forever in place if I do it myself or something like that, which I thought was really nice. And it also felt a bit like like Rent a Girlfriend towards the end parts where they do some like fake relationship kind of stuff, but then it's like a whole like, all right, what level of this love story mind game are we at right now? So personally, myself, I would probably describe this as kind of like Kaguya-sama, but with more of a focus on the romantic feelings of the characters involved with those mind games. But it's also got, like you said, really, really good comedy. I really enjoyed how you guys handled some of the jokes with this. I don't have any offhand examples, but I remember like legitimately like bursting out laughing out loud in person while reading some of their like banter back and forth and how they were playing off each other. And I don't really do that with a lot of light novels. So I thought that was really, really good for me. I also liked how throughout all of it, it's not just like a happy rom-com the whole time, especially towards the end where it focuses, because it also has his younger sister as like one of the main characters with this. And both the brother and the sister are dealing with like the loss of their mother from an illness. And you get to see how that affected their personalities and their relationships with each other. And then you also get a brief look at the backstory of the main girl and her history with seatmates. And while some of it was funny, the initial like starting point of what started that, it felt a bit emotional to me. And I really hope we get to see more of that kind of stuff develop in future volumes. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this myself. And I'm probably going to end up be doing a more formal review of that story when I get the time in the future.
Nice. I mean, it has 4 volumes, so for the time being, so it has content. And the 5th one will come out January, I suppose.
Awesome.
I don't know, actually.
What made you choose to license Seatmate Killer? Was this a title you were interested in picking up already, or was this something you found from like a list of suggestions? Or
no, I read it. It was one of my reads, and it was funny, so I just picked it up. It had cute art. That's pretty much. I decide, like, my decisions are based mostly on art because I sell our products with the eyes and then the stories. Although I'm not trying to say the stories are bad or anything. I'm just saying that I like to sell what I would like to buy. So whenever I see covers of books, I always buy the prettiest cover. And then I look at the story. So that's pretty much how it works for me. And there were many options that I could have chosen from Futabasha, which is the company that has the rights of the series. But yeah, I think Ice Queen and that one and Seatmate Killer were the 2 ones that caught my attention the most. Though I read them first just to make sure that they have nothing weird on them. And then if there's nothing weird, then we go ahead with the licensing.
I definitely see that you're definitely of that mindset, like you mentioned, of buying the ones that have really, really nice looking titles, or the covers, because I think I absolutely love how the covers look for almost all the titles that you guys have licensed so far. They're like really, really eye-catching. They focus on the really beautiful art of the main waifu characters. I think those are really, really good picks just from that alone.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't like old school tier things. I really like modern art, modern visuals, and those are the prettiest. So yeah. that's what people like the most. At least not people. I'm gonna say the core of followers that we have really like those things. So I know what the core likes, so I please the core.
Yes, definitely. Turning the tables on the Seatmate Killer is out digitally now with a physical release scheduled for, I believe, December 15th. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
All right. I'll be putting links to that in the description of the video, of course. Now let's talk about your newest licenses that you recently announced. You recently announced 3 titles coming to Tentai Books, all of which I believe are also rom-coms. So let's briefly talk about each of those, starting with From Toxic Classmate to Girlfriend Goals. When I first saw that title myself, I kept thinking she's, I don't know, maybe a League of Legends gamer or something, but what's it actually about?
In the book, she sounds like a gamer sometimes in that sense. How did I start? Because, God, I read this book so long ago. The story starts with this girl, which is the girl in the cover. She's being hit on by the classic hoodlum in the street, and the protagonist saves her, quote unquote, right? So she becomes smitten with him. But she happens to be the asshole of the school, right? Nobody likes her. Like, it's actually very interesting how in the school, it's not like people stay away from her because they fear her or anything. She's just an asshole, so everyone hates her. She's an asshole because she has communicational issues. She doesn't know how to talk to people, so her only way to communicate is by being an asshole. And that obviously, doesn't work well for her. So the protagonist happens to be very perceptive. He's not dumb, and he's not the kind of guy that just,
he sees through what people are thinking, basically. And from the first moment, he knows that she likes him, and he's like, okay, let's go out. No, from chapter 2, I think it was. And yeah, they start going out from that chapter 2. And the story is about her turning from this, assholey attitude and not knowing how to deal with people to actually having friends. And she becomes a tsundere. The title said kudere. I think it's misleading. I don't think it would be fair to mislead our readers. So I just decided to change the entire title to something more accurate, based on what the original title had, obviously. And yeah, I think it pretty much describes perfectly what I mean, which is like she turns from a very mean person to this very, cute, caring, loving person. And that's pretty much the story. It's pure slice of life, school comedy romance. It has a happy ending guaranteed, according to the author at the very least. And it's a single heroine romance. So yeah, the other girls that appear are only friends of the characters, and they only serve as side characters, etc.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to check it out. Next, we have You Like Me, Don't You, So Want to Go Out With Me. It's a pretty vague title for a rom-com, but what makes this story actually stand out? What is it about?
Okay, so this is the same writer of Older Girlfriend from J-Novel. Most of the people who will listen to this know what I'm talking about. Nozomi Kota. He's been in the industry for a long time now as a writer, and he specializes most of all older heroines. He really likes older heroines in his books. He prefers his girls to have more than 5 years than the protagonist at the very least. And this is the first novel he does where the girl is only 1 year older. I think he explains this in a meeting he does, an interview he does. But basically what he's looking for is a pure romance. Normally most of his stories have a lot of ecchi content, and in this one he really tones it down, and he prefers just to have the romantic slow part, relationship about the characters. I think it is slow, but it is worth to read. And the story is about this guy. He's like the protagonist of Oregairu. He's like very negative about everything. And the only saving grace he has throughout the day is that he gets to spend his afternoons with his cute senpai at the literature club, with which only the two of them are the members. And in one of these meetings, she tells him that she knows he likes her. And he's like freaking out. He's like, oh my God, how does she know that I like her, right? And she's like, it's okay, I like you too, let's go out. And that's how this story starts, basically. It tells a lot about the struggles of the protagonist. And I think it's very relatable to many people because, this super cute girl, which is one of the cutest girls in school, she says she likes you, right? And you have this like imposter syndrome of, there's no way she likes me. There must be something going on. Maybe she's pulling a prank on me. It centers a lot about the internal struggles of the characters, both of the protagonist and the girl. It has a double point of view. It's very interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much the novel. I think it's stalled now at the time being because the author is focused on the mother title with Kadokawa at the moment. I assume because it's more popular, but it'll get picked up eventually soon. So currently has 2 volumes.
Okay, so currently 2 volumes, but it's paused for future volumes for the time being.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's sold well over there, so there's no way they cancel it. It's impossible.
Right. And then lastly, we have I Kissed My Girlfriend's Little Sister. Now that's a title that raises some eyebrows, I'd imagine. I think your site also tags this as an NTR story, so what's up with this one?
It is. It's peak content, as you can see by the title. This is the same writer as Chivalry of a Failed Knight, Riku Misora. According to him, this is his magnus opus. I would disagree, but I mean, I don't know. I haven't read the entire story. I've only read just 1 volume. The story is about this guy gets a girlfriend. Okay, from the chapter 1, he already has a girlfriend, and he's like super happy with her. They already held hands the other day, so it can only go better from now on. What's the issue? The protagonist, I think it was his father, is widowed, okay, or he's separated, and he remarries again with another woman. This woman has a daughter, who becomes the protagonist's little stepsister. And that this little stepsister happens to be the long lost twin of the protagonist's girlfriend. So yeah. So it's a very awkward situation where she's exactly like his girlfriend. And the sister likes him, like she teases him and she likes, she likes to make fun of the protagonist and tease him because she knows that his girlfriend happens to be her sister. And this turns, raunchier as time goes on, and things escalate pretty quickly throughout the volumes because it's a story that will only last 4 volumes. The fourth is the last one, which will come out this month, I think, at some point. Either that or next year early, if I remember correctly. The author said something about it at some point. And yeah, it's a story about NTR because basically the protagonist is pretty much cheating on his girlfriend with the sister, and it's about how he handles this situation of a triangle, as well as the girls, obviously. It's like a double viewpoint. I've seen a lot of Japanese people say that this is the best novel of the year. It ended up on Konorano of last year, 8th place, if I remember correctly. And yeah, it's probably the best title we have, like in terms of popularity. So I'm expecting great things from it.
Well, I hope it does well. Related to that, though, I know in recent years, platforms like Amazon have been taking down certain light novels that cover certain topics. Is that something you're at all worried about with Sister Kiss or any other titles you're looking to publish in the future?
Yes, for one that I haven't announced, and I will announce very later into the future. But no, not for the sister one. I would be worried if there were like partial nudity scenes in the novel, but since that's not the case, I'm not really worried. Plus, honestly, it's just like fake marketing, in my opinion. Even though she's categorized as a little sister, she has the same age as the protagonist.
Right, because they're like twins, but like only a couple minutes apart or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then she's the same age as his girlfriend, and she's the same age as the protagonist. So it really doesn't matter. So, right. I mean, obviously Amazon won't care about that because they don't read the book, they just see the images. But I'm not worried. I'm not really worried about it, no.
Okay. Do you have an estimate at all for when these new titles will be released?
I was hoping to release the first one in December, which is the Toxic one. But since we most likely will finish our deal with Ingram next year, the pre-orders for our new books will come out this month with some luck.
Okay.
And next year, we will go online with Ingram. So maybe I delay like 3 months, the books, but in exchange, they will all be available through all platforms online from now on, which is something that we haven't been able to do until now, obviously.
Awesome. Out of all the titles you've licensed so far, what's your personal favorite?
Side character. Because I'm the one working on it.
A little biased, but yeah, I respect it.
No, I think it's side character because I do like to, when I translate, I'm really eager to make my characters sound like people in real life. I don't really want, when I see anime conversation, it really makes me cringe because it's not real conversation that characters would have in a romantic comedy.
Right.
So I make them sound like real life people. And that's, I think, something that not only gives our characters life, but also something people that have read our books really like a lot.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I really enjoy it so far with how you make them sound.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same. We use the same policy for all of our titles if we can. Obviously, if they are like pure fantasy, then no. But if they are like romantic comedies set on like real life scenarios, quote unquote, then yes. I do try to make them sound realistic and less anime because I mean that's what these novels are, right? Like they are like soap operas, and you know what you're buying. So, and I really like translating that way. So I do it and it works. And for side character, I think Toka is my greatest achievement of a character so far. I think I've been able to nail her in the Japanese, from the Japanese to English version pretty nicely. And I really like her attitude and all of the characters, really. That's why it's my favorite.
Okay. So this answer might overlap. Who would you say is best girl out of all the titles you've published?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say Toka. Okay, Toka? I would say Toka. And then maybe Koyuki from Toxic Classmate.
What was Toka from again? Toka was from
side characters. Then she's the main girl. And then Koyuki is the main girl of Toxic Classmate.
Tough questions, I know. Those are the real tough ones right there.
I mean, they are kind of tough. It's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, I feel you. What would you actually say is probably the most difficult thing about the light novel publishing process?
I mean, the thing is, I guess being able to choose something that you have to kind of guess. Okay, I'm going to call it guess, even though it's not guessing. It comes with experience. But you have to choose things that you have to sell, right? And even though you really like some things, you have to let them go because you know that they won't work. And that's probably the hardest thing. Just being able to choose titles that will make your money come back. Like, because in the end, we're a company, right? So, even though I do love what I will work on, monetary part is always there. And yeah, it's just like I really dislike that part, just controlling the whole finance stuff about the business. I really dislike, basically. It just gets me in a constant state of like being stressed and not enjoying things as much as I should. But it comes with the job, I suppose. And the hardest part is that, yeah, like obviously more than anything, just being able to continue releasing things at a steady pace, because sometimes it is hard with our lack of manpower. And sometimes the Japanese companies taking very long to sign contracts. So it's hard for me to keep up the pace if they take as much time as they do sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where do you see Tentai Books in about a year from now?
A year from now, we'll probably have a manga out or something, but probably not with the main brand of Tentai Books for reasons. And like we'll need to work on mangas, because if we want better titles, we need to work on different content. Even though I'm not the most knowledgeable, we'll do like a manga or two for sure. And my idea is to finish some of the series we've already done. So let's say Diner of the Exiled, Ice Queen. Let's see, are there any more? I guess You Like Me Don't You Until It Is Resumed. So those three, get rid of them. Like, and by that I mean finishing them. Hopefully ending side character next year by the end of the year. I really want to finish that series as well. And yeah, just like trying new stuff. I really want to try new genres of novels next year. So we'll see how those work.
All right, that's awesome. Do you have any new, well, I don't really want to say announce something right now or whatever, but do you have any like ideas or general hints for series that you're potentially looking at licensing?
I mean, I've already said in the server of Discord that the new genres I'm looking on are Yuri, basically. I'm looking for Yuri content.
Well, nice. I have a ton of friends who would love to hear that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's Rom-Com / Yuri, so real life soap operas, what we're doing, but with Yuri content. Pretty much that's the only change. And then for mangas, I really don't know. I really want to follow the aesthetic of being cute. Like all of our stuff is cute, right? So I want our mangas to be cute too, and I'll see what I can do. I mean, we already have one licensed. It's pretty ecchi. I just hope I did the right choice. Yeah.
Well, all right. In my eyes, you guys are doing a great job so far. I hope Tentai Books continues to bring us more great rom-com titles in the future. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Just, thank you for the support to all of those who do, and I will keep things up. I'll try to speed releases. I'm sorry about the delays.
Hey, I no worries from me at least, because I really like the quality of how they seem to be coming out so far. I started reading World Teacher while I was waiting for this to start, so I've been getting into that now too. I think what was the other one I bought a copy of? Well, these are all digital copies because I'm still waiting on the 2 physicals I ordered. The other one that I haven't read yet, I think was it Outcast Restaurant? I think it was Outcast Restaurant, which I haven't looked at all yet, mostly because I'm not sure how I in general feel about more restaurant-focused kind of things. But I think this was also tagged action, so I think it'll probably be a fun time for me still.
It's funny. It's a funny title.
But yeah, that's awesome. All right, so thank you so much for hanging out for this interview talk, and I would love to talk to you again in the future.
Thank you, man. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
All right, and so I'm going to link all your stuff in the descriptions or show them on screen here, so go check those out, everybody, if you can. And that's all for this video. I'll talk to you all later.